Biden White House diplomacy has slowed down Chinese efforts to expand its military power and espionage around the world, according to Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Monday.
I can't get into every step that we've taken, but the strategy begins with diplomacy. We've engaged governments that are considering hosting PRC bases at high levels. We've exchanged information with them. Our experts assess that our diplomatic efforts have slowed down this effort by the PRC.
He'd been asked about Washington's response to reports of a Chinese spying operation in Cuba that were reported by the Wall Street Journal last week, reports that Beijing denied earlier on Monday. Blinken also said that the Trump administration was aware of a 2019 Chinese upgrade of intelligence collection facilities in Cuba, but efforts to address that issue were, quote, not making enough progress. Blinken said incoming Biden officials were briefed on China's efforts to expand its spying efforts, including in Cuba, but that actions taken since President Joe Biden took office in January 2021 have produced results. Blinken did not specify what those results were. White House spokesperson John Kirby said on Monday the U.S. has made its concerns known to Cuba about hosting Chinese spy operations in its territory. He also said he didn't expect the report of a Cuba base to affect a planned visit by Blinken to China later this week.
Email exchanges from inside the BBC, they talk about the risk of violating Indian laws. It's easier to rake up the freedom of speech debate, but does it give anyone a free pass to knowingly violate the law? America supports India because it needs India's support in return. And India is working with the US because it suits India's interests. This is how geopolitics works. Last night, he diffused a crisis with his defense minister. But today, Netanyahu was confronted with a new problem. His cabinet seems to have rebelled against him. The UK is looking at the Indian subcontinent to fill its coffers. That India seems to be negotiating from a position of power, like a partner and not a former colony. The US and Russia are dangerously close to an armed conflict. This year, 2023, New Delhi will be the capital of global diplomacy. For a country as diverse as ours, with 88% of the population illiterate, it was a very big deal to write a constitution, and that too, the world's largest. Meanwhile, if we may, here's a Republic Day gift from India for the BBC. A list of suggestions for the BBC for their upcoming documentaries. Number 1, the Kohinoor and the colonial loot. Number 2, an outdated monarchy and unhealthy obsession with the royals. Number 3, racism in 2023. We're waiting.